Okay, I think we're ready to go, so I'll call the meeting to order. We do have a quorum, so we're good that way. Welcome to everybody, and since we have some new members today, why don't we just make sure we go around and introduce ourselves. Jeffrey, you want to start? Probably just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay.
Yep, there you go. Oh, no.
My name is Jeffrey Miller. I am the director at the Cass County Soil Conservation District in Fargo.
Arlette Preston, new chair of the Food Commission, and I serve on the Fargo City Commission.
I'm Joan Cotbrud, and I'm an at-large member.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Heather Niesemeyer. I am newly appointed to this commission, and I serve as the appointee from the Moorhead City Council.
I'm Anna Johnson. I am the nutrition manager with CAP-LP Head Start in Moorhead.
Hi, I'm Karen Engler from NDSU, and I'm an at-large member.
I'm Jace Hellman with the City of Horace, and I'm the Community Development Director for the city.
Wonderful. Welcome, everybody. I was just talking to Jeff. It's tough when you're in Zoom to put names and faces together, so it's good that we're in person, and I apologize if I don't remember everybody's names here. First item on the agenda is to approve the order and the contents of the overall agenda. I think everybody's got one in front of them.
Move to approve, Niesemeyer.
Any discussion, changes, whatever? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. And then we have minutes from the last two meetings, since we didn't have a quorum at the November meeting. Those minutes are in front of you as well. A motion to approve would be good unless there's changes.
Move to approve, Niesemeyer.
Is there a second?
Second, Cotbrud.
Are you whoever's recording, you're catching things? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. So I don't believe all of the new members are here this morning, but Heather, right?
Yes.
You want to just tell us a little bit about yourself, why you are interested in the Food Commission?
Absolutely. I have been a long-time admirer of the work of this commission. Myself, as a Moorhead resident, I have appreciated the work because I facilitate a Moorhead community garden. I also, not only being a longtime gardener, I believe in food sovereignty and access for all individuals to land, economic, healthy foods, and many of the issues that we were just visiting about up here are very near and dear to my heart, and I know citizens of Moorhead. And so I am very excited to be participating in the work of this commission, and I just thank everyone for creating a fabulous environment to participate in. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. I don't believe any of the other new members are up here. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Jace Hellman again with the City of Horace. Just started with the city back in March, kind of finding out what this commission is about. Firm believer that healthy food options are a key to a healthy community, especially like at City of Horace, where we don't have immediate access to like a grocery store or anything like that right away within that community. So learning what this commission is about and excited to kind of get on board and help any way that I can.
I don't know what that was, but Jace, sorry, I
Oh,
missed
no
your
worries.
first name on the first round of introduction, so welcome. All right, so I am going to warn everybody, there's a special meeting of the City Commission that's been called for 12 noon, so we're going to try to be out of here by 11:45. So if I'm pushing things along, that's why. So there are some new at-large members, and I believe Adam is going to do some, or introduce them,
Yes.
or whatever.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, each year at this time, we look to approve the appointments of new at-large members for the Food Commission. There are 5 at-large members total that serve 2-year terms on a revolving basis. With Jeremiah Utik's departure, we had one opening this year. During a call for new members, we received one application, and the steering committee recommends the appointment of Karen Engler. Karen works in the office of the Vice Provost for Student Affairs at NDSU and was instrumental in creating a food insecurity task force, which has sought to tackle food insecurity on campus. Before we have her give a brief introduction of herself, we're also looking to note that Jeff York has agreed to serve an additional term as well. He's not here this morning, but you'll see the requested action is we look to approve the appointments of Ms. Engler and Mr. York for at-large members.
Sounds good. Karen, time to introduce? Okay,
Thank
let's
you.
take a few minutes.
Sure,
Karen.
I'm Karen. Thanks for that introduction. So our food security fund has three parts to it. The Goods for the Herd Pantry and the Little Free Pantry, and we have a Swipe Out Hunger program too, which is adding meal swipes to students' accounts if needed. So I'm really interested in more repacking programs, community garden, how to get more volunteers. Excited to serve. Thank you.
Welcome, Karen. Glad you could join us. So a lot of the members of this commission are actually appointed by elected bodies, but this at-large new member and the reappointing of the at-large member is actually an action item for us. So I would entertain a motion to appoint both Karen Engler and Jeff York to the Food Commission.
So moved, Joan Gottberg.
Second, Niesmeyer.
And I apologize, Jeff, I don't mean to turn my back to you. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? All right. So as a result, because we do have a number of new members, Adam is going to do a little bit of a onboarding presentation. And to be honest with you, I've been on the commission for 2 years and I don't know some of this stuff. So I'm looking forward to it as well. Adam?
All right. Well, thank you, Chair. Again, we have 5 new elected officials serving on our commission, as well as 1 new at-large member. So it's half of our commission is new as of January 2023. So we thought we'd just put together a quick presentation, just kind of talk about, just kind of give a brief overview of what we mean when we talk about food systems, talk a little bit about the timeline of the Cass Clay Food Partners, and then we'll just talk a little bit about the Cass Clay Food Commission itself, a little bit about its history, its purpose, and some of its work and accomplishments. So what are food systems? They're interconnected systems that influence nutrition, food, public health, community development, agriculture, includes activities such as production, processing, transportation, and consumption. But this includes not only the basic elements of how we get our food, but also the processes, policies, and infrastructure that's involved in feeding our communities. So a little bit about history and timeline of Cass Clay Food Partners. It was formed initially in 2010 as the Cass Clay Food Systems Initiative. The primary, the purpose of the initiative in the beginning was really looking at encouraging and promoting local foods, as well as ways to address better access to healthy food in our community. Several years after that, we were contacted by Public Health and Extension in Cass Clay counties to develop a food systems plan. This was completed in 2013. And it had a couple of different goals, objectives, but one of the recommendations from this plan was in order to better engage elected officials, that we should consider the formation of an actual food policy council for our area. And through a joint powers agreement signed between the City of Fargo and Clay County, the entities responsible for public health in our area, the Cass Clay Food Commission was formed in March of 2015. The initial name for the commission was the Cass Clay Food Systems Advisory Commission. This was shortened in 2017 as part of our reorganization efforts. And part of those efforts, we actually developed kind of a community buy-in arm that that was called the Food of the North, and this was started in January 2018. At the very bottom, I'll just talk, most of our funding is grant funded through the North Dakota State Department of Health Chronic Disease Program. Over the years, we've also received some additional funding from Partnership for Health and the Northwest Regional Sustainable Development Partnership. So when I talk about the Cass Clay Food Partners, there's 3 entities that are involved in that. One is the Cass Clay Food Commission itself, our elected policy body. We also have the steering committee, which you'll see behind me, and we're kind of the research education arm of the Cass Clay Food Partners. And then we also have Food of the North, which is kind of our community engagement component. So very briefly, the mission of the Cass Clay Food Partners is to improve all levels of our community food system to ensure that residents have access to safe, nutritious, affordable, and culturally based foods. We have a lot more information at our website, cassclayfoodpartners.com. Also has information about some of our values and also some of the work which I'll touch on here a little bit later in our presentation. So the Cass Clay Food Commission, its primary purpose is to address and discuss policies relating to our local food system. We have 12 members, 7 are elected and appointed by jurisdictions they represent. So that includes cities of Fargo, Moorhead, West Fargo, Dilworth, Horace, and also Cass and Clay counties. And again, we have 5 at-large members that serve 2-year terms on a rotating basis. And you can see all of the names here of all of our members as of January 2023. And then there's a photo. This was our first meeting back in March of 2015. Again, another arm of the Cass Clay Food Partners is our steering committee. There are 9 of us, and we represent public health on both sides of the river. We also have NDSU Extension and U of M Extension, Great Plains Food Bank, Clay County Planning, and we have 1 dietitian, nutrition specialist, as well as a person from the NDSU Department of Public Health, and myself with the Fargo-Moorhead Metropolitan Council of Governments. We meet about once a month to set the agenda, and we also present on items to the commission on a regular basis. We do research, put together resources as needed. We also give presentations. Over the years, we've presented to a number of different organizations and different statewide meetings, including the Minnesota Planning Association, North Dakota Planning Association. We presented several times to those groups to talk about our work and what we've been doing and some of our goals for the future. Also, we're involved in networking. This includes outreach to other food policy councils in our region, including those in the Twin Cities. And we've also been working with Johns Hopkins University we were accepted into the community of practice for regional food policy councils about last year. Was that about that we started that? Yeah. So, and that's been really valuable for us. And our last arm again is Food of the North, and one of the great things they do is they have what's called First Fridays. These were launched in January 2018. These are monthly meetups to engage and discuss different food topics in our community. They meet at 701 Eateries at 701 University Drive in Fargo. And it's a really kind of the way for our community to get involved and kind of a call to action for different food systems issues that are important to us in our area. So I apologize. This is a lot of information that's crammed onto this slide, but it kind of shows some of our work over the years. So when we first started out in 2015, we had a couple of early focus areas looking at urban agriculture, food access, and sustainability. These translated into a number of different blueprints, issue briefs, and snapshots that you can see just below that. In total, we've developed almost 20 different blueprints and snapshots. And what these are is they provide kind of an overview of a different topic area, such as backyard chicken keeping or pollinator habitats or gleaning. And then from there, they talk about some of the benefits and if potential concerns for these types of food systems issues in our community. They also provide stipulations to consider for draft ordinances, either for city or county governments. And then we also try to provide sample ordinance language from other communities across the country, should a community or a city or a county pursue one of these food systems issues. Below that is one of the areas that we've really tried to work with is integrating food systems language into comprehensive plans. In the last 6 years, 7 of our communities in our region have developed new comprehensive plans. And in each of those communities, with their comprehensive plans, we've been able to integrate food systems language. Some of that is very, very broad in general. Some of that is just to encourage and promote the work of the Cass Clay Food Commission. But some of the language is actually pretty specific, whether it's encouraging community gardens, again, encouraging pollinator habitats in different areas of our area, and so forth. So that's been a really important way that we've been able to integrate food systems issues into areas in our community. And then the very bottom topic areas that have been moved forward based on some of our blueprints and snapshots. The big one that you probably hear about the most is the backyard chickens ordinance that was carefully considered and approved in the city of Fargo several years back. Also, we based on our gleaning blueprint, we established a gleaning network called Glean ND. It's a volunteer network that works to capture excess produce and channel it to charitable feeding networks. Another area that has moved forward was the Stock Healthy, Shop Healthy. It's relatively minor, but there was some grant funding for marketing and awareness of fresh produce at several area convenience stores. And then last on the list is the most recent endeavor. It was the Boulevard Gardening Ordinance that passed in the city of Fargo that allows for vegetables and pollinator flowers in boulevards in the city of Fargo. I also want to touch about during the COVID-19 pandemic, we became really involved in our community for several months. One of the things that you see first is that we developed a community food resources list. It had information on free meals, food assistance, employment and volunteer opportunities throughout the community. And we kept that up to date for a number of months, beginning in March of 2020. Also during that time, we commission members as well as steering committee members, we produced 45 Facebook Live videos discussing a wide variety of topics related to food systems, including gardening, urban agriculture, and food sovereignty in our area. And many of our videos had hundreds of views, so we had a lot of good community engagement through that effort. And then we also developed an FAQ guides that talked about city codes relating to food systems. A lot of this was sometimes updating some of the blueprints and issue briefs that we had put together to talk about what people could or maybe couldn't do related to food systems on their properties and in their communities. So a very quick, very broad overview of the Cass Clay Food Commission and the Cass Clay Food Partners. Happy to take any questions at this time.
Any questions for Adam? I have one. Will you send out this presentation to the entire group? There's some pieces in there that will be interested, I think, in pursuing a little bit more. And then for the individuals that aren't here this morning. Yeah. All right, so no questions for Adam at this point? We'll move on. Thank you.
Thank you.
So Jeff, I believe at every meeting we have a time for one of the at-large members to kind of tell us about yourself. So it's your floor.
All right, thanks, Arlette. My name is Jeffrey Miller. I am the director at the Cass County Soil Conservation District here in Fargo. Professionally, we do a lot of habitat restoration. We work with farmers, ranchers. We also have an urban conservation program that works with citizens that live in towns. We've established what we call pocket prairies, small prairie areas in town. We also help fund community gardens. We have a lot of cost share opportunities. I always encourage people to check out our website to learn more about the cost share opportunities that we have. Away from my professional job, my partner Melanie and I own a small rural homestead south of Kindred, North Dakota called Cottonwood Bend Farm. We raise fruits and vegetables. We have 4 kids between us, so we're very cognizant of where our food comes from, and we're always proud to say that most of the food that we consume either comes from something that we grew, foraged, hunted, fished, trapped, or otherwise collected ourselves. This last year, with our excess produce, we ended up doing a pay what you can sale, so people would that would desire excess fruit, and they could just pay what they could. And some people paid little, some people paid a lot, but it was important to get that food out into the community rather than just letting it waste in the garden. So I guess I have a passion for locally grown food and making sure that everybody has access to non-processed, locally grown food.
Right. All right. So it's always been a little confusing to me, the role of the steering committee, and Michelle is a co-chair of that. But you also bring a national kind of perspective to things. So I'm looking forward to your presentation.
Great, thank you. Well, prior to jumping into that component, I did want to share a video that Jeff was involved in, and it has to do specifically with pollinators. So I'll play that shortly.
I would describe a pollinator as basically a home for bugs and for bees and different insects, and it builds that habitat so that then we as humans can continue to exist on Earth. There's many different kinds of pollinators. They can be used as like natural landscape. You don't need to get, the $40 flowers. You can just plant a native pollinator and they'll come back every year.
They're very important. Most of the food that we eat is pollinated by insects. Whether it's corn or soybeans or vegetables or even apples and trees, even oak trees are pollinated by insects. So pollinators are very, very important. If we didn't have pollinators, we really wouldn't have a food system. It's kind of frightening a lot of times when we do install these native pollinator plants and how quickly the bees, the butterflies, the moths come. And that's kind of frightening because we're realizing that they don't have a lot of food. So we're giving them kind of a buffet, and ideally I would love to see a lot of private businesses, go to native landscaping. Another benefit of it too is that it's much less work.
With VTC, a lot of our individuals have physical and mental limitations, and they love to volunteer in our garden.
Watering them and taking good care of them every day. They really make the community look nice and pretty.
If you own property, and may not even own property, if you have an apartment even, we help cost share the plants and all the supplies to start your own pollinator plot. We can also help with the planning, where to put the plants. We just released a native plant guidebook, so we can help you plan that. We can give you, a lot of different advice, and then we also can source plants and seed, and we can certainly work with just about anybody.
There's a lot of ways to, like, if you're interested in learning more about pollinators, come and check one out. Come and visit with the person that has the pollinator plant. They're very easy to take care of, and they're rewarding. So it's definitely worth at least checking out further.
Wonderful. I hope you all enjoyed that. And if it's okay with you, Chair, I might jump to item 5B, just as kind of a continuation of that video that you just saw there. So as Adam mentioned, the steering committee is really that research, educational, planning arm of the Cass Clay Food Partners. And one of the things that we really wanted to do in 2023 is to increase our engagement in the community and also the awareness of the Cass Clay Food Partners in general. There are times where people hear about the food partners and they're not quite sure what we really do. And so we wanted a way to really, educate and get out into the community more. So with that, we were really fortunate to partner with the City of Fargo's, their communication team, to be able to develop 5 educational videos on topics that we thought were important, or kind of rose to the surface to get out into the community. And this pollinator video was one of those. And these videos also stem from the blueprints that Adam had mentioned as well that have been developed by the food partners. So there was also a video that was about who are the Cass Clay Food Partners. So that was one video that was done. We also did one on the backyard chicken keeping ordinance, as well as one on eating fresh and local foods on a budget. So those 4 videos are complete, and we are proud of those videos. They are on YouTube. We have been sharing them through our Facebook page as well. And we are in the process of filming our 5th video on gleaning. So that one is in the process as well. So we look forward to getting those out. And the agenda does link to those videos that are complete. So definitely feel free to take a look at those. But for sake of time today, we're just going to continue on. The other update I would like to give is on the community of practice. Again, as Adam mentioned, as a steering committee, we decided to apply to a regional food policy council at the national level in combination with Johns Hopkins University and Ohio State. And out of over 50 applicants, the Cass Clay Food Partners was selected to participate in this national opportunity with 10 other food policy councils. So we are in the very early stages of meeting as a large group in terms of sharing ideas, resources, things that have gone well. And we will be having our 3rd meeting next week. So we look forward to updating you more as we engage more with this food policy council, but we really do hope to, increase again our engagement and diversity within our steering committee and our food commission, and we do look forward again to updating you as this continues. We were invited to join an in-person meeting with the other food policy councils in May, which we are excited to attend. So again, we'll hopefully learn more. A goal really of this community of practice from all food policy councils participating, again, is to get best ideas, best practices, so that the individuals who are conducting this community of practice can then have a template or kind of a guiding framework that then can be disseminated nationwide. So we're excited to grow as a food policy council ourselves, but to also contribute to this as a whole. And I'm happy to take any questions if there are.
Any questions from the commission? Michelle, would you have any suggestions about individual members using those videos? Any suggestions there?
So I think the more that we can disseminate them and share them widely, that would be wonderful. As I mentioned, they are on the City of Fargo's YouTube channel, as well as Fargo Cass Public Health has a YouTube page as well. And we are, as the Cass Clay Food Partners, posting those periodically on our Facebook pages. And so if that is a way for individuals to share, just to bring awareness, that would be great. And as you'll notice, some of the videos do link or have the URLs to the Cass Clay Food Partners webpage that then draws attention to the blueprints and those sorts of things.
So as I was listening or watching this pollinator one, I'm thinking the facility managers in the larger institutions might be a good contact point for something like this. Thinking City of Fargo, we've got a lot of property, and so that might be something to think about.
That'd be great. Thank you.
I had a question. Can they be posted to the Clay County? Because you said they're on the Fargo City website. Could those videos also be on the Moorhead side?
Yes, I believe that they could. And many of these initiatives even can be implemented, across the border.
Right.
So that would be great.
Okay, anything else? Thank you, Michelle. So Zoe from the food bank is up next with a presentation on pop-ups, which sound interesting.
Well, good morning, everybody. Can you hear me? I'm shorter than everyone else. But, I'm gonna present this. Perfect. My name's Zoe Apsey. I am the Community Initiatives Manager at the Great Plains Food Bank. And what that title really just means is I work on new solutions to ending hunger. So looking at our community and how can we reduce barriers and create better access to reach a wider population. And maybe there's communities that we don't reach as well. How can we reach them better? So that's why I'm here today. Great Plains Food Bank Pop-Up Pantry is the mysterious name. We've done a pilot program for about 6 months now, started in September, and we'll be having our last distribution of the pilot next Friday. Oh, wow, that looks different than on my screen, but that's okay. So kind of how they came to be, Mayor Tim Mahoney and Dr. Terry Hogan contacted the food bank, letting us know that they had been reached out to by the New American Immigrant and Refugee community leaders, saying that they needed more food assistance for their communities and how can we be equitable about this. So we came to a meeting, we talked about solutions and ideas, and ultimately at the end we decided that the City of Fargo would designate money for the food bank to purchase product, collaborate with local organizations, and distribute the food out to the community. And we decided a low barrier option of doing a pop-up distribution. So bringing the food to where individuals are at. So just a bit about the program. We created a task force with key individuals from multiple different communities. They've been along for the ride the whole time. We meet monthly. I ask for their input. They give me feedback. They helped create the program framework of the model. So they helped with translation services, getting the information out, kind of creating relationships between the food bank and local international markets. And so they have been my backbone for all of this. And then with that information, we started purchasing product from local Fargo International stores. Because the money was from the City of Fargo, the distributions had to be in the city, but also if we were purchasing product, it had to be from local Fargo markets. So we created those relationships, and we really tried to buy items that we didn't have at the food bank, but also maybe we didn't have the best access to. So like 5-pound bag, 10-pound bags of basmati rice. There's specific rices that people like, and which I've learned throughout this process. So they knew it. They knew all of that. So doing that, but also unique produce such as okra, eggplant, different items that we don't see on our order sheets, we purchased from them. And then bulk spices such as cumin, cinnamon, Maggi, halal bouillon cubes were some of the ones we purchased. With those same international markets, they were able to opt into a food voucher system that we created. And so it helped us because we didn't have to purchase raw, fresh meat and have to handle it, worry about handling it, especially with the halal component to it. So we were able to provide food vouchers that were $25 for each household that came to the distribution, that they were then able to take to the food markets and purchase what they wanted. So giving choice back to our neighbors. If they wanted halal meat, great, but if they wanted to buy extra rice or beans, they could as well. And so every 2 weeks, I go and I collect the vouchers, and then we reimburse them by writing them a check. And it's created a great relationship with the local markets. And along with all of that, the task force and I sat down and we talked about how are we going to distribute, where, what times, what works best. So we really looked at location first of where are these communities living, walking distance, because we also wanted to make sure, even though we were identified this community, it was open for anyone in need of food assistance. So trying to make sure that everyone had access to it. And so we decided on Bethel Church across from Essentia, that was a great location. There's apartments that people could walk to from there. And then we also did, we kind of switched up the evening one. We started at the Family Healthcare on South on 42nd. We did do one at the Fargo Cass Public Health. And we had our last one at the old Sears parking lot at the mall, which was nice and big for us, which was great. And our last distribution will be at Ishara. They have a community center, and it'll be indoors. So we're going to try a different model this time. And timing. So we wanted to be low barrier and create the most access. So for the month of September, we had 2 distributions a day, one in the morning, one in the evening at 2 different locations. So if there was a single parent household or families were working different shifts, they could have better access to get that produce. We realized quickly after the first month that we did not have capacity to host that many distributions. We were seeing a lot of families come through. So then we decided to do 1 distribution time 2 times a month. So the first Wednesday we'd do it in the morning, the second Wednesday we'd do it in the evening. And then that way there wasn't duplication of people coming multiple times a day as well, which we had received feedback on that. So with all that in mind, here are just some statistics. In September, like I said, we saw, and these are duplicated, but we saw 960 households in September. October and November are pretty similar. And then December, because of the horrible weather we had and holidays, we had to postpone and then ultimately cancel our distribution. But the amazing task force, they all are part of organizations that have those relationships already. People trust them. They go to them already for different assistance and translation services. They were able to distribute 300 vouchers to individuals that reached out and who they knew needed assistance. And they were also able to come to the food bank, pick up food, and distribute it. So it wasn't just a lost month. We were still able to get out resources. So we're coming to a close. Next week is the end of 6 months for us. What's next? We will do an impact report. We'll gather the focus group, see what the challenges were, what the successes were. Janice Tweet, my coworker, and I held some focus groups this past spring and summer with 7 different communities in the Fargo-Moorhead area and have started creating food lists about culturally relevant foods that people prefer to eat, would like to see at a local food pantry, and what barriers there are in place that are stopping them from using the pantries. So with that knowledge, we are hoping to create a list to then educate and hand out to our local food pantries so that they know how better to work alongside different community members and what to have on their shelves. And then we're also, pop-ups are great. They're efficient. We can meet people where they're at, but they're just not sustainable. With the number of people that are coming through and with the food bank running them, it's just, there's no capacity. But with that in mind, we want to work with these existing partnerships that we've created. They're not food partnerships, but how can we work alongside them to make sure that community members are feeling comfortable and safe at our pantries, they feel seen, they understand when they walk in what they're getting, what the hours are. So really getting translation materials out to our pantries, how-to videos, helping us spread resources and debunking myths, really. And then if they are able to distribute food as well, people, like I said, people trust them, and if we can create that partnership, that is ideally the most sustainable route. So with that, any questions?
Questions from anyone? I have one then. So were you able to ascertain whether these were individuals that may not, and it kind of sounded like by your comments that were a little reluctant to go to a larger food bank and that these were closer to their neighborhoods, they were more accessible?
Yeah, I think one aspect of the barrier with going to a pantry is the paperwork. They don't know what they need or what the paperwork is telling them that they need. And so our intake that we had pictures and it was very simple. Because the product wasn't government product, we didn't need certain information. So it was very simple, so they felt comfortable knowing how to fill it out. In the future, we're hoping to have translated intakes at our pantries so that won't be a barrier for individuals who can read, and also pictures for if literacy is an issue. But we have heard through our focus groups and through our task force that is a barrier. They don't feel comfortable going to a pantry, but sitting in their car and driving through it feels safer.
Okay, thank you very much. it always amazes me how many efforts and initiatives are going on in the community relating to food. It's just like, wow, it's great. All right, so the next agenda item is actually something that we need to take action on. It's a letter of support, and the letter is actually in the packet. It's something that we did have some conversation around about a year ago. Noelle, I think, are you going to introduce it and talk about it?
Yes. Hello, everyone. Great to be back in person today. I'm Noelle Harden, and I work with University of Minnesota Extension. And I am here to talk about the letter of support for the Multicultural Urban Food and Ecology Initiative. So this is a proposal very similar to one that we wrote a letter of support for last year. It's a grant through the Minnesota Department of Agriculture that supports urban agriculture and especially opportunities to involve youth in our local food system. And we do have one of the partners here in the room, Verna Kragnes, but we're actually going to invite Verna up during agenda item number 9, unless there are any questions about the grant proposal and the letter of support. So we think that this is a wonderful project. Verna and her husband, Rick Hall, are amazing organizers here in our local food community. And we see this as a project that really builds on the work that they've been doing, partnerships with the Native American community and starting some indigenous gardens, partnerships with the New American community, starting a farm incubator, and then also some new partnerships that they're building on in this latest proposal. So this would fund a urban ecology program for youth. It would increase the connections in the community that Rick and Verna have been building over the years, and create new opportunities for both youth and BIPOC community members to get involved in local food production. As you can see in our letter of support, we have identified ways that we think this really aligns with our mission, and we think that it is a great idea. So are there any questions that I could address or that Verna could address since she's here this morning?
Any questions? Okay, so if there are no questions, then a motion to support, I guess a motion to present the letter, a motion to approve the letter of support probably.
So a motion to approve would be great.
Okay.
So moved, Niesmeyer.
I'll second Miller.
Any comments, questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you, Noelle.
Thank you for
And-
the work. I just want to say it's a beautiful letter. I'm really excited for the work and to move forward with this potential grant and project. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes, we're really excited to be able to support this project. And we're also hopeful that we could write more letters of support like this for projects in the community. So we do have a process for that, which is basically to reach out to us and ask us for a letter, and then we'll identify the alignment with our work. And as in the case with this letter, as a member of our steering committee, I will be directly involved in this project if it gets funded. So we have the involved steering committee member and our chair sign off on the letters of support. Okay, so then the next item, which I am really excited to come back to a planning process that we did with the Food Commission last November. So about every 18 months or a couple of years, the steering committee likes to get feedback and work with all the members of the Food Commission to identify what our priorities should be moving forward. So we had a wonderful discussion last November, and you can find all the notes from that. There's a hyperlink in the electronic version of the packet that Adam sent out. And we had about 4 questions that we asked people to reflect on, and then the steering committee reviewed all of those comments to further prioritize and focus our work over the next year. So we have 3 priorities related to Food Commission topics. The first one is to address food needs and opportunities with New American Community members. You got the first taste of that, part 1, today with Zoe's excellent presentation. And we're planning to continue that conversation in March. We also want to note that we feel that this is not a one-off kind of topic, but something that we really want to continue to think about and work on and invite different partners, both to present, but also to potentially give public comment at future meetings. So look for more of that throughout this year. We also would like to take action to change the food system by better understanding the social determinants of health and how that relates to food options and choices that we have and make locally. And we are inviting Chandler Essinger from Essentia Health. She does a really wonderful presentation on this topic, and hope that we can also have a rich discussion at that meeting to identify specific areas of action. And then the last strategy, there was a lot of interest in sort of neighborhood approaches, or taking a different approach with different jurisdictions to meet needs. So it came forward, a couple members of our steering committee also serve on the FM Wellness Coalition, and they have identified 3 priority underserved neighborhoods in the community where they would like to focus their efforts. And so we're really interested in that same focus on underserved neighborhoods and exploring if we could also adopt that lens in our work in the Food Commission. So one example, since I'm in Minnesota, I'm familiar with that side of the river. The Romkey neighborhood in Moorhead is one where there's a lot of need, but also a lot of opportunity right now, some organizing that's happened, public land that's available for things like gardens, pollinator gardens potentially. So we're really interested in exploring that kind of neighborhood scale of work. And I'll just pause. Are there any questions about those priorities? Yeah.
I have several. I'll start with one. So the third item, you had mentioned the 3 FM Wellness Coalition neighborhoods. Would this element only look at those 3, or would our focus be beyond those 3? I'm just curious if we are looking to be in alignment with the FM Wellness Coalition, would we stick to those 3 or would we go beyond? I'm just curious.
I would say that we're very open to expanding beyond those 3. That seemed like a natural starting point since there's already some energy and work and overlap between the 2 different coalitions. But absolutely, I don't think that we would be limited to just those 3. And when we get to the next item, I think that that's something we'd love to work directly with representatives from the jurisdictions to figure out, other potential focus areas.
Wonderful, thank you.
Yeah, and did you have another question?
I did. I don't want to dominate.
Right ahead.
Keep going. Thanks, Chair. For the JAM board, I had noticed that there was a specific note about integrating Indigenous populations and their access to food, which I really appreciated. I know that has been a note that has been brought up in the Moorhead community, and I know in our greater metro area. I don't necessarily see it specifically highlighted, and that would be very specific. But I'm curious, is that something that would be potentially covered in item 3, do you see, highlighted as an underserved neighborhood, or a social determinant of health? I'm just sort of, since I wasn't Jamboarding myself or part of the steering committee, brain power. I'm just curious.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for the attention to detail. I really appreciate that. And I would say it's a yes that both item 2 and 3, that looking at issues around equity would very much play into that conversation. But also really appreciating the assets that we have within our Indigenous community and lifting those up as well. So I don't think that these 3 priorities are exclusive focus for the year. And it's wonderful to know that that's something that stood out to you and that we should continue to explore.
Noelle? Wow. I felt
Hi,
like
Rory.
this is your calling. If I could, I'm on the FM Wellness Coalition, and the 3 neighborhoods that were chosen, part of the criteria was the percentage of non-native born residents. So that's definitely built into the selection of those neighborhoods.
Marvelous, thank you.
Yeah, so Rory is on the FM Wellness Coalition, and Michelle, you're on that as well. So it'd be great to connect with Rory and Michelle to learn more, and I'm sure that we'll have a presentation in one of our next few meetings to learn more about their focus and their criteria and all of that. So thank you for the questions.
Yeah. I have one more follow-up, and that's to the first element. I know you had said that Zoe's presentation was just one element that was sort of a springboard that we'll see more of in March. And Zoe, you had said that a follow-up to some of that work that you've done is developing sort of a list of sort of preferred items and those elements. Perhaps that's not a blueprint, but is that some of those addressing needs and opportunities and those resources that then you're looking at as continuation for addressing those needs, right? As a resource for this pop-up, right? That's leading us down the path as a starting foundation? Or...
Yeah, I think that, we have great representation from Great Plains Food Bank on our steering committee. Janice Tweet is one of our co-chairs. We're always looking for ways to learn from the amazing data analysis, and the hunger study is something that we'll learn more about at our next meeting as well. So always looking to learn from partners and some of the players in the region about what they're seeing on the ground. Certainly hearing what is uncovered in the focus groups would be of great interest to us. But also it's a really great point about research and blueprints and sort of what's next for our group. As you saw, we have quite a list of topics that we've already addressed. And are looking into sort of that next phase of what kind of information is needed to implement some of the policies that we've researched. And what are the things that are emerging? Our food system has changed a lot through the pandemic, through the economy, through different investments that are happening state and federally. So I think there's a lot of opportunity. And in fact, that was something that came up in the meeting that we want to address and didn't make it onto this list, is to kind of do an assessment of like, what blueprints do we have, what's been implemented, where is there the most opportunity to move forward in jurisdictions, and then what are some of those other gaps or data needs in our food system that we could think about addressing.
Wonderful, thank you.
Awesome questions. Thank you so much. It's a lot more fun when there's questions.
Some interaction. Any other questions or comments?
Okay, and then I do have the part 2. I'm glad that I paused to take the first set of questions. But in addition to our kind of topic priorities, we really want to think about community engagement this year. And like the video campaign that we've produced, how do we really let the community know and other stakeholders that we can be a resource and we're here to serve? So one of our ideas, this is a new idea for this year, is to host Coffee with the Food Commission in each of the 5 municipalities that we serve this year, maybe into 2024. But basically, we would love to be able to have members of our steering committee, members of the Food Commission, and invite the general public to attend a coffee, just a casual hour-long coffee at Third Drop in Moorhead, for example, where people can come and share ideas that they have about the food system, learn about the work that we're up to, and ideally, if the elected from that jurisdiction, if we could coordinate with you around the timing of that so that you could be there and hear from folks as well. That is something that we'd like to propose, and we do have the funding from our stipend from the Community of Practice to buy coffee. So consider yourself invited to a coffee date. Wondering how that idea sounds to folks. I see a couple of head nods. Okay, cool. So is there anyone out the gate that might be interested in being our first stop in the Coffee with the Food Commission?
I'm a coffee drinker.
Fantastic.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you so much, Chair Preston. I think that is a wonderful place to start considering the depth of our work in Fargo, and we'll reach out to you about getting that set up.
Okay.
So then we would also like to invite all of the commissioners, both at large and elected, to attend one of our monthly steering committees in the next year, steering committee meetings, excuse me. And these are held on the fourth Monday of each month from 1 to 2:30. You wouldn't need to come for that whole 90 minutes, even 30 minutes would be awesome. And those take place at Fargo Cass Public Health. So this isn't a hard requirement, but we just think it's a great opportunity for us to learn about all of the commissioners, what perspectives you have on the food system, what you're working on that maybe we could support in some way. And then it's also an opportunity for you to kind of learn about the steering committee, our areas of expertise, and just strengthen the connection that we have between the commission and the steering committee.
If I could
So-
just make a comment there.
Please.
I think it would be real valuable. I'm looking forward to that because really the work is done, I think, in the steering committee. So it helps, I think, to understand better where the issues and topics are coming from, as well as what the issues are out there. So
Thank you so much for that endorsement, Chair. That's wonderful. And we'll get an email follow-up out to all of you saying all the dates of when those meetings are and inviting you to select one to join us if you would like. And then lastly, we are just eager to think about other kinds of community events that we could host or co-host, which is an option that we really like as the steering committee. We've done events in the past. A couple years ago, we worked with Resilient Moorhead to do a pollinator power walk that was just a lovely community event, and meeting the community where they're at, getting out into neighborhoods, into gardens, onto farms is something that we'd really like to continue supporting. So with that, I can take any other questions if you have them.
questions, comments? If not, a motion to approve the priorities and group processes in 2023 would be in order.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Jace. Second?
Second.
Second, Anna. Thank you. Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Great. Thank you for all of that work.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Michelle wants to do a little community recognition, which is wonderful.
Yes, thank you. I feel like I get the fun part of the agenda. Well, all of it is fun. This kudos and community highlight portion is extremely fun. And this is something that we've been doing since May of 2022. And this month, we would really like to highlight Rick Hall and Verna Craigness for receiving the Moorhead Human Rights Award. And they were the recipients in the education and nonprofit category. Rick and Verna, they started the New Roots organization to help new farmers become successful and independent, and definitely have made a great impact in our community with farms and individuals growing food. And then the next recognition that we would like to give is to Gauri Pillai. And so this was a really unique anniversary, if you will, the 10-year anniversary of her receiving or getting donated food items and also raising money. So this started when she was 4 years old, and she saw a woman in the cold and wanted to be able to help her. And while she didn't know specifically how to help this woman directly, her parents had the idea of, well, why don't you collect some donated or some food that we can then donate? And she has been doing that on her birthday in December every year. And so this past December, in December of 2022, that was the 10th year that she has collected food items as well as raised funds. And to date, she has collected over 5,000 pounds of food and over $4,000 to be able to donate. And she was named one of the 2021 Hunger Relief Champions of North Dakota. And she seems to have no plans of stopping. So we just wanted to highlight that work and her eagerness to continue to give back to our community. And with that, if Verna would like to, she's still there? Hi, Verna. If you would like to come up and say anything about the award, you are more than welcome to. And then also to speak to the letter of support that Noelle mentioned earlier in the agenda as well.
Am I close enough? Oh, good.
You're good.
Well, we were delighted and pleased to have such an honor for this work, and thank all those that were involved in making a nomination and so on. In terms of the work that you also have supported, I'm very excited about that. There's a leadership team that includes representation from the New American Development Agency and also the Indigenous Association and First Congregational United Church of Christ in Moorhead, which happens to be right next door to our house and is the church that we go to, is conveniently also offering their garden space for a community garden that will continue, offered training opportunity this last year and will continue this coming year and be the location, one of the locations for some of the work with youth. We have a VISTA volunteer that is Carissa Brown Otter, who isn't here today, but she instigated a book read, and it's not too late to get involved if anybody's interested. It's a book called Reinventing Food Banks and Pantries, New Tools to End Hunger. And basically, we have a grant that's funding copies of these for people who are interested, one per organization. We have 15 organizations signed up so far. And the book discussion is set for Wednesday, March 22nd, from 1 to 3:30 at the Indigenous Association in Fargo. So we're going to hope that everyone will have read thoroughly the book because we'll be facilitating a discussion that's action-oriented toward looking at what are some of the ideas that really resonated and how to bring about change. So anyway, I guess that's about all that I have at the moment, but I'm just always, I hadn't been in a place to be able to come to a commission meeting for a long time, and I'm just absolutely amazed at all the wonderful things that are happening here. So thank you.
Thank you, Verna, for all of your work in the community, and to Rick as well. All right. So we are then on to the public comments. I know that there was no one online, as far as we know anyway. Anyone in the audience that wants to address the Food Commission? This would be the time to do it if you're interested. And I'm not seeing anybody getting up, so. So, any feedback on the meeting today? And maybe I could bring up right now too, as I'm watching and listening to the agenda items, there are certain things that I see I would really like to see in a future agenda. If any of us have any agenda item suggestions, could that or would that go through you, Adam? Send ideas to you or Noel? I don't know that we have, or Michelle and Janice.
I'd say myself.
Okay,
or
Adam,
Michelle,
all right.
Janice, any of us, yeah.
Any of us.
Okay, sounds good. So feel free to do that. Any other comments or suggestions of any kind?
My guess is that the minutes from today's meeting will include the title of the book that Verna just mentioned and the date in March and so on. I wasn't able to get some of that jotted down. I was still digging my pen out fast enough, so I'll look for that in the minutes. As I said, I'd like those specifics to be noted, so thank you.
Anything else that anybody wants to share that's going on in the community? This is kind of a networking opportunity as well, so. Okay.
I was gonna.
Sorry.
I'm talking lots today. I was gonna note that the city of Moorhead is looking at an ordinance for backyard chickens, and I want to acknowledge Janice and Michelle reaching out with wonderful resources and sending an email to our city manager and the city council. That was very awesome. Thank you very much. At this last Monday's city council meeting, we moved to send the discussion of the ordinance to workshop. So moving forward, I'm not sure what meeting date our ordinance will be on moving forward, because we're going to workshop it out and discuss as a city council. So stay tuned for more movement on Moorhead backyard chickens. But I just wanted to acknowledge the resources that this commission had sent forward and the chairs extending more resources and opportunities. So thank you very much.
That sounds great. I had a question actually of Adam when I was talking with him recently about the blueprints and how far have we been able to go with implementation of any of those ideas. So it's great to hear of another one.
Right, and the timeliness of the backyard chicken video is spot on. So thank you for that.
Perfect.
That was pretty great. I'm excited.
All right. Anything else? All right. So future meetings, if any of you have not been to a First Friday, I am just a disciple for those. They're wonderful. They're real interesting. They're engaging, and it's all people that are interested in food. So I would encourage you, if you have not made one, to go to one. The commission meeting schedule, I think, was that in our packet? Yeah. So if you get those on your calendar, that would be great. And the next meeting is March 8th. So if there's nothing else, we did very well. Thank you, Michelle, for cutting back a little bit on your presentation. It saved us a few minutes. A motion to adjourn, and in fact, I don't know that we need that, but a motion to adjourn would be good.
So moved. Joan Coburn.
Is there a second?
Niesmeyer, second.
All those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? All right. Thank you.